Welcome to 5-Minute Fridays. Yesterday, we testified in front of the House Post-Secondary Budget Review Subcommittee. We talked about affordability. And today with me, I have Papka, who leads our post-secondary work. Post-secondary affordability is a strategic priority for the committee in the next couple years. We're going to talk a little bit more about why. Perry, why does affordability for college make a difference?
Well, Brigitte, first of all, it's great to be with you again and to talk about this critical issue. Fundamentally, it's about jobs. We know that by 2020, 62% of the jobs in Kentucky are going to require some level of post-secondary education. Our Council on Post-Secondary Education in Kentucky has set a big goal around that to get to 60% by 2030, a little bit further out, but we're only at 45% now. So it matters in terms of what our workforce needs. But on top of that, research done by UK has shown that the state could have almost $900 million more in tax revenue and cost savings if we reach the national average in educational attainment.
So that's a significant increase in the state's ability to provide for education and general kind of quality of life.
All kinds of other quality of life services that come through the public sector.
What is the state of affordability in Kentucky currently?
Well, it's a challenge. What we've seen over the last 10 years is state support for our colleges and universities decline by almost $200 million. Tuitions continue to go up at all our campuses, 64% during that time at the research campuses, UK and U of L, a little bit less at community colleges and our regional four-year campuses. And wages have been virtually flat when adjusted for inflation. So it's challenging for a family to meet those demands. We also see it in student debt levels, which have gone up almost $12,000 over the last 10 years, and more students are taking out debt. So you can see the pressure starting to rise on students and families as they try to figure out the financial challenge. And it's also a challenge for our campuses. So we need to come together and find a better way to talk about this so that we can not have financial barriers be in the way of students achieving their dream and their success for life.
And to that point, I believe the Federal Reserve recently released a report that shows that student loan debt is actually having a negative impact on housing purchases. So it's important that we watch the impact of student loans over time on other areas of our economy.
Exactly.
So, Perry, talk a little bit then about the importance of defining affordability and what we'll be doing in the next few months to provide a conversation around that definition.
Well, we think that's critically important here at the Prichard Committee to have that conversation. One, to generate a shared understanding around what it might mean for college to be affordable so that we can begin to address what the shared responsibility is for everybody. That's from the state, from colleges and universities, from students and families. Everybody plays a role in making that dream come alive for students, but we need to have that conversation. So defining it's tricky. Everybody has a different perspective. May have a different definition in their head right now. It depends on your background, where you came from. But it's difficult when people come with different perspectives in terms of the value of college, the return on investment they're going to get, what the price is, and what their ability to pay is. So we really want to have a rich conversation with a large group of stakeholders, colleges, universities, students, other advocacy groups like ourselves, to come together and say, can we figure out where we've been? Do we all agree on what our status is? Can we come around to some agreement on how to measure affordability? It's going to be some interesting conversations around that. And then can we set some goals so that we can go back to policymakers and say, if you do this, we'll advance the goals and we'll advance student success.
So important work on the horizon. Higher education certainly matters in the state. President Thompson with the Council on Post-Secondary Education is currently going around the state to have community conversations with citizens to better understand the challenges, the barriers, and the successes in their aspirations for higher education. So we look forward to that additional information. We released a poll results earlier this week that showed that citizens across the state are most concerned about jobs and the quality of K through 12 education. And unfortunately, the thought about higher education and improving higher education fell much lower on their priority list. So we hope to see that rise on the priority list in years to come. So stay tuned. We'll share more about the working group and our efforts to define post-secondary affordability in the months to come. And we'll see you next Friday.